Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of What the Franchise, and today we're going to be talking about something in line with the current NFL timeline and the events of this time of the year, and that is going to be draft presentation. This again might seem like one of those smaller things, but I think when you look at the offseason, the draft is by far the premier event, so to speak. There's a lot of anticipation not only leading up to it, but the draft itself has become a complete spectacle over the years, to the point to where the first round now has its own day all to itself. And if you watch the first round last night, then you know that it's pretty easy to see how crazy everything has become when it comes to the draft. And I don't think I'd be too far off in calling the draft the Super Bowl of the offseason, and in turn I think that it should be treated and presented as such within CFM as well. Unfortunately though, when it comes to Madden, there's no real buzz or any kind of presentation elements at all for the draft. It's just a very dull process that, outside of the mechanic itself, doesn't really resemble the real NFL draft in virtually any way. And I don't think the expectations here necessarily need to be a full-on one-to-one replication of a TV broadcast of the NFL draft either. I think there are a number of things that you can do to make it not only more appealing from a presentation aspect, but also making it a more interesting task to take part in, which is something that I won't get into too much today, but I will be diving deeper into with Beyond the Blueprint. This is also one of those places, I think, as well, where I recognize that this is where the offline experience is going to clash with the online experience a little bit. If you're in an offline league, then you're generally going to have more time and be more likely to deal with and be willing to accept a more extravagant presentation process for the draft. While if you're in an online league, it's probably hard enough to get everyone together to do a draft as it is, so time becomes more of an issue and having presentation isn't necessarily as important. But I do think there are some ways that you can do things to where, whether you're in an offline or an online franchise, you can still be able to experience it in one way or another. And again, that is going to be something that I will touch on more in the Beyond the Blueprint video. As for improving it though, I won't get into anything specific yet, but the one theme that I did want to hit on is really the same overall issue that I have with CFM itself, and that is lack of life. Like I said before, the draft is the Super Bowl of the offseason. It's a spectacle and it's this huge event, but with Madden, that whole spectacle and feeling that it's a huge and important event is completely absent. There's all these storylines leading up to the draft, which the game does try to incorporate, but I think has trouble conveying. And then there's also a crazy amount of storylines that surface over the course of the draft itself, which I think is a huge missed opportunity, whether it's players falling, players being reached for, teams trading up, teams trading down, who's going to be picked with the current pick. There's so much going on that can be looked at and utilized when it comes to presentation and making the draft feel important and like it's this huge event. And the draft shouldn't be something that just feels like every other task. It should be something to where you get that feeling that you're doing something important and taking part in that Super Bowl of the offseason. You don't need to go full long shot here and turn the draft into some playable movie, but adding elements that help you feel more immersed in what you're doing and make the draft more interesting and something that is an exciting offseason task, I think would go a long way in making playing multiple seasons feel like more of a worthwhile endeavor and overall a more enjoyable experience. That's going to do it though. Like I said a few times, I'm going to hit on a lot more and go into a lot greater detail with the Beyond the Blueprint episode, but given the time of the year and the event that the draft has become, I felt like this was something that was appropriate to hit on. The Beyond the Blueprint video should likely be up next week at some time, but let me know some things that you guys like or dislike about the draft and how you'd like to see it portrayed within CFM. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of the draft, and as always, thanks for watching.